Hello! Vicky here for another art video whilst giving punk rock vampire realness in this current fit, which is very related to who you may know as Ziggy who played guitar, and that is the David Bowie, who I will be painting today. This is being done in acrylic on a 16 by 12 inch canvas, so it's big and needs downstairs space. I will be using a new gold paint and palette. Don't mind the change in outfits throughout the video, they are not consistent and I will be looking like a little boy. Whilst I prep the canvas with the new sandpaper and burnishing technique that I'm testing out, I'm going to use the time to talk about Bowie and his influence, plus the references that you may see throughout in my art plan. Some things I follow through with, others not so much. Okay, let's get started by speaking some facts about Bowie. Bowie Man peaked in the 1970s when punk rock was introduced, and he helped make it thrive with his whole persona, with the older egos, exploration of song styles, and just being a cool bloke in general who tested social standards of that time, because you know how they were back in the day. He's inspired all kinds of artists, including singers like Lady Gaga and Kurt Cobain, fashion designers like Alexander McQueen, and artists like like himself. Throughout his different personas, he's established anatomically distorted eccentric fashion looks, courageously expressing androgyny and wearing what's considered feminine clothing, which was such devilish rebellion behaviour for everyone back then. Mostly, I reckon, because suppressed sexual confusion for sure. Basically stuff you wouldn't see in mainstream media like today, although people are still triggered today by men wearing skirts. His personality came off as reflective and authentic when talking to people or talking about people. He was an activist when it comes to gender, race and sexuality, and breaking through taboo subjects of the time, like when he had Aborigines participate in his Let's Dance video. He's also raised money towards AIDS research and enabled a space for free expression for the LGBTQ+ community. For decades, he's influenced all kinds of audiences in all kinds of ways as their idol, and died leaving a strong mark on the world as a multi-talented creative with many names like Major Tom, Ziggy Stardust, and the man who fell to earth. He died aged 69, which is pretty fitting for his image, which is quite iconic, I must say. This mood board is for the colour palette alongside references to include, such as the makeup on Ziggy referencing Mars, the song Queen Bitch from the Hunky Dory album, the star from the Lazarus album, the obvious Diamond Dogs, which is the main centre stage, and of course his signature lightning bolt look. This was for a hair shoot I had done the same day, and I felt it was very fitting to include in the video. Shout out to Hooker and Young, you did amazing. I'm using the colour scheme of that flower picture mixed with the Diamond Dogs colour grading, and I casually flick paint onto the ground here, which fortunately did not stain the carpet. I continued to mix and match to the ideal tone that I wanted, but there was this one part of the canvas that I think got wet from previously that just would not cover up no matter what I did. So I desperately patched it up, and it looks bad now, but trust me, I fixed it later. For the circle, I conveniently found this mum candle lying around that was the right size, which was perfect to draw around. I didn't have to do anything else. The colours were going to be copying his makeup look, which was a look I really liked and showed how alien he was. The fly flew casually onto my canvas just to say hiya, and I just blew it away. Mwah. And we continue with the red. As you can tell, I was pretty excited to use the gold on the Mars, but as you can see, it was casually not showing up. Like, it was too close to the colour of the background, so I ended up resorting to painting it white, so to make it appear more, I suppose, and it kind of worked. kind of. It looks a lot shinier now, as you can see. I'm gonna now try and do the lettering. Try and copy this font and just see how it goes, I guess. In this recording distance, it was not showing up on camera that well, but I promise you it is there. That's me realising it's not seen on camera. Yeah. Thank you, Vicky, for approving. Yes. I don't know if I've mentioned previously, but I've been inspired by a lot of artists recently, as I've been trying to figure out a style of work to produce, wanting to see how I can merge my realism portraits, as that's a strong point in my art career, but with something colourful and creative that would not only appeal to me, but the masses. Like you guys, as I'd love to sell my work someday, but it's a big deal to have your own sense of style that stands out. So this is why I'm exploring it now rather than later. I wouldn't say this David Bowie piece is a style I'd do for the long run, as painting takes a long time, but I'd reckon there'd be moments where I make a piece similar to this as a speciality that I put out, as I absolutely love painting. And I especially need to try oils though, as according to one of my artsy amigas, I'll fall in love with them. I had the David Bowie movie on my watch list, which would have been perfect whilst painting David Bowie, but then I saw SpongeBob movie and how could I resist? I needed some nostalgia for the best SpongeBob movie there is out there. Watching it made me realise so many memes were taken out of clips from this movie. It's so iconic.
Goober, yeah. You're a goofy goober, yeah.
Definitely should have done this sooner, but we are now getting a close-up of Bowie's little alien face as I add the final touches, which is pretty satisfying to look back on and seeing it being put together. Can you tell portraits are my favourite? Seeing the face alone, it has had me gobsmacked. Look at my reaction there. Starting with the body, I play it safe by going for the arm because it looked the easiest to start with, whilst I magically change into a different outfit. Wasn't that a beautiful soprano? Can you tell I watched Phantom of the Opera recently? It was incredible. That changed my life forever, and I need to see it again before it closes down. Now you have a clear picture of how I get entertained behind the scenes whilst I paint. But enough of that now. We're going to show you how I now start with the arm. I go a bit brave with it, and it was quite fun looking back how the colours just mix together. When they blend, it's so satisfying. It feels like when you're blending makeup on someone's face, but it's blending colours that you think wouldn't mix together, but then they do, and I'm just like, oh, beautiful, beautiful, it's so smooth. Now I go ahead and start mapping out the main body with the darkest paints and work from dark to light, and I'm realising afterwards that I realised a lot of things afterwards, but I made David Bowie a little more chunk than he is in the real picture. Like his body's a little bit squished in rather than stretched out. And that's okay, we can represent a little bit more real body David Bowie rather than his slim figure. Because the way he was skinny back in the day, it was quite like an unhealthy one because of all the drugs and stuff. But he improved after that, he was fine. We like to keep a chunk Bowie. We are embracing the chunk. I'll admit the face isn't an exact replica, but the resemblance is eerie. Now I'm starting off with the hair, which I thought was going to be a lot more difficult, but I decided to bring in the dark colours once again and just try to make thin strokes, because obviously hair is not one big solid block unless you're doing animation. But I'm aiming for realism, so I was doing a lot of stripies, yes. First time I've ever said this, but now we are going to paint his toe beans. Doggies and their toe beans, they're adorable. Not sure about it being adorable on a man though. Hybrid dogman, is that cute? I don't really know, but it worked out. I believe this is the second time I've ever painted hands, which is why I very much left it till last. I looked at the reference picture and I was like, dear God, I do not want to do that now or ever. But you gotta trust the process, and I was building it up, adding in each random colour. I was working it in a really weird way, to be honest, but it was blending in well, and by the end it like looked pretty decent, so I gotta give myself credit for that. And the fingernails, oh, adding the dark bit, very satisfying. The reason why his album was censored, due to the little willy. After many days, finally, the full body is complete, and it's looking ravishing, I may say. Even the hair, and I suck at hair. I go in now with the shadows because it felt a little bit like not part of the painting, so I added shadows to make it feel like he is inside the painting, he's not just on something. And I figured, because he is a star man after all, he should be laying on a set of stars. Colouring for these letters, I was kind of struggling because they turned out way too light than intended. I was aiming for the same colour as I used in the font mood board, but it just wasn't popping off. It like looked quite flat on the canvas, and even when I darkened it, it still didn't feel right. But then I thought of the brilliant idea to add white in the middle, and suddenly it changed everything. It changed the whole game. And of course, in the bitch, we can add the lightning bolt, because that's the whole David Bowie identity. Who thinks of David Bowie and doesn't think of the lightning bolt? The Queen bitch letters were coming to life, which really, thank God I figured it out, because I'm happy now. Look at that. Poppin'. And the front was pretty much done. I didn't do the Lazarus stars on the background because it turned out I quite liked it the way it was, and I didn't want to do any damage. So I figured, what if I did the stars on the exterior? So I decided, instead of painting the sides red, I decided I'm going to stick to the colour that it is on the canvas and just merge it into the sides and see if I can do stars on the outsides. Clouds were never part of the concept, by the way, but the background felt quite empty, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to pop in some clouds, and it worked out in the end. They look pretty cool. I'm proud of that. I decided, why don't I do the stars in ballpoint pen? Or whatever type of pen this is called. But like, come on, like if I'm too scared to do a painting that I might ruin it, why not this? This is going to be like fine, sweet. I'm going to practice on the paper first, obviously, but oh my god, I'm so excited. Probably should be on a better surface. I forget I suck at drawing stars. Okay, this. Like this. Oh, that's already looking whack. No, that is not a good star. Okay, we're going to practice again. Is there a better way? I know there's other ways to draw stars, but this ain't working. This is looking like Patrick Star with that body shape. Look at that. There we go, that's literally Patrick Star. After many Patrick Stars later, I realised I could not draw stars for the life of me. A perfect one at least, nah. And so I didn't want to risk ruining my canvas, so we ditched that idea. Making this now a certified finished Vicky piece. Look at me doing that signature carefully. Careful. Careful, SpongeBob. Careful, SpongeBob. Now the big reveal, and oh my god, this turned out so much like what I envisioned. It's insane. I once again outdid myself comparing to that draft. For a first time painting human anatomy, and I don't know if this counts if it's a dog hybrid man, I think it turned out alright. I mean, some proportions weren't exact, like he's a little bit chunkier than the reference, but I think it's okay. not bad. I'm so glad I made this. Can you tell by me happily running into my room to show off? I hope this has been a fun watch for Bowie fans, artists and Bowie fan artists. I had a blast making this and I always love testing my artistic limits. Don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed this video, comment your favourite Bowie song. I'm going to say mine is Starman. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more art content your way. Next week is going to be model video week, so I'll see you Bambinos soon. Love ya!